In the Alfred Essential Music Theory in Unit 6, we are learning about distances on the keyboards, which are measured by half steps, and accordingly related to that subject are the accidental signs that you see looking like a tic-tac-toe and a little B on your screen. Let's first review the keyboard. We have seen earlier that when you're facing the keyboard, on your right hand side will be the higher pitches, and on your left hand side would be the lower pitches. Also, let's review that the black keys are patterned in twos or groups of threes, as seen in the picture. Let's see if some of you remember where C is, as that is most often the letter note that we would like students to memorize. Let's try to figure out where C is. Where? Have you gotten it? C is on the left-hand side of the two black keys. Thus, you see two C's right now on your screen. So, in order to coordinate those C's with how we write music with the Western notation, you could see the middle C there being written between the two stop lines, one with a treble clef and one with a bass clef. There are two ways to express middle C. It depends on your usage of the treble clef or the bass clef. But there are other C's on the keyboards, and thus, if you look to your right, the higher C there is expressed with the treble clef, and the lower C on your left of the keyboard, left side of the keyboard, is expressed with the bass clef. For mnemonic purposes, we can also just say low C for this one, middle C for the one in the middle, and high C for this one. In order to memorize, you could also imagine that the two staffs are folded in half through a horizontal line between the two staff, and you would see that the high C and the low C will fit in the same space. So why are we reviewing the keys' names? Because we are talking about the distances between the keys, especially the nearest keys. So let's start with some definition. What is a distance? A distance is a two-dimensional measurement between 2 points if you were in math or geometry, and 2 notes, which we will later cover, which are called intervals. And in this case, in Unit 6, we are covering distances between 2 keys. Before we measure anything, we need to decide what the base measurement, the unit base is. Well, in length or depth, we use centimeters or inches or meters or feet. Now, between keys, we use a half step. So if I was in this particular key, what would be half step up from that particular key? Can you just mentally choose it in your mind? Okay. Now, if I was in this particular key, what would be a half step down from it? Therefore, the half step is just going from one key to the nearest key. And the nearest key can either be a black or a white key, as experienced through your exercise. Do you remember where C is? Can you try to find it again on this keyboard? Okay. So now, let's start on that C and go up half a step. What is the key? It's a black key, yes. And as in measurements, 2 halves equals a whole. Same thing with the steps. A whole step equals to 2 half steps. So here's my next question. Start on C and I'll go up a whole step. Where would you end up? On the next white key. So now, why do we learn distances? And how do we represent those keys on a staff? We already learned all the white keys' names, as you can see. So how would we represent those black keys? Well, we call them accidental signs. They look like those tic-tac-toe sign and a B sign that you've seen before. So where's C again? Can you find them? Here's one, here's two. And then this particular black key that's half a step up from C, how can we call it? We can use a symbol, tic-tac-toe. But the tic-tac-toe is actually, it has a name. It's called a sharp. It raises the note up a half step. So similarly, if you could find G, I'll leave you time to find G on this keyboard. Now try to find G sharp. Where would G sharp be? Which key? It is the black key on the right of it. Similarly, we can also have a sign called a flat. When you flatten down something, you're going lower, right? Flatten it down. So it lowers a particular key a half step down. So let's take D. Can you find D next to the higher C? Now, how would you call the black key on the left of that D? You would call it D flat. Similarly, can you find A at the top part of the keyboard on your extreme right hand side? Can you find A? Now, try to find A flat. And there it is. This is the black key on the left side nearest to A. Well, note that this C sharp and the D flat is pointing to the same black key. And similarly, this G sharp key and the A flat key points to the same black key. It's just higher, but the same black key. Those are called enharmonic notes. It's when the same key has been designated by different note names. So most times you could say in general, if a letter, the key letter, is sharpened, you can call it by the next letter above, flatten. So C sharp equals to D flat. G sharp equals to the next letter above G is A. So G sharp equals to A flat. So in an exam, I could have asked, what is the enharmonic note of D flat? And you would say it's C sharp. If I had asked, what is the enharmonic note of G sharp? You would have said A flat. So is it that simple? If I had to write the enharmonic name of G sharp, it would have been that one, A flat. If I had to write the next note's enharmonic note, which is D sharp, I would have written this one, which is E flat. Second line, if I had to write the enharmonic name of, that is a D flat, correct? Then I would have written C sharp. Is this as simple as that? I am afraid not. There are exceptions. As you could see, not the black keys don't alternate between the white keys all the time, right? So those are the exceptions. How else can we name the key F, the white key, F? Well, it would be the letter under it, E, sharp. Similarly, how else can one name the key E? It would be one letter above it, F, flat. So if you notice where there are two white keys in a row, you will notice that it's between E and F and B and C. What does this entail? What does it mean? So whenever there's a note that is given for you and the question is to find the enharmonic note, if it's one of the notes is E, F, B, or C, be careful because there are no black keys in between them. E sharp equals to F, F flat equals to E, B sharp equals to C, and C flat equals to B. Otherwise, you can follow the other rules that The enharmonic note is simply an alphabet letter above or below with a switch of the sign. Thus in conclusion, here's the keyboard that has most of the possible names. We will tackle double sharp and double flat in the next session. As a preview, you can guess what double sharp means. Not only is it the half step higher, it is a full whole step higher. Double flat means not only is it a half step lower, the nearest key lower, it would be 2 half steps, a whole step lower.